My name is Sam Green-Armitage. I work at the Sports Governance Academy and I am the operations officer there. And along with me is Tara, and I'll let you introduce yourself, Tara.
Thanks, Sam. Good evening. Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm Tara. I work for the International Paralympic Committee in their governance department and also sit on the board of Tutball UK as the independent director for governance. And I took this course, started it last year and finished it this year. I'm here to share some thoughts.
Fab. So just in terms of an agenda, I'm going to quickly raffle through in terms of how to apply and where all the resources are, and a few quick tips to go along with that, and then we will crack on with the main discussion part. So let me just share my screen. Make sure I share the right one. Here we go. Right. There we go. That looks like we should be seeing that okay. And I've got everyone up in front of me. So yeah, welcome along to this drop-in session on the certificate in sports governance. So to start us off, what is the certificate and what is the SGA Bursary? So to start off with, the certificate in sports governance is a level 4 qualification from the Chartered Governance Institute UK and Ireland. In terms of what that means in difficulty, that's meant to equate to something around the first year of university in terms of difficulty. So yeah, I think level 6 is about master's level, to give you some context. So, and the certificate is open to everyone. However, the SGA Bursary is just for those involved in the UK sport and physical activity sector. So if you've dialed in tonight or you're watching this on the recording and you're not in the sport and physical activity sector, fear not, you can buy the course directly. And likewise, if you're unsuccessful in getting to Bursary, you can do that as well. So it's predominantly a self-study course and it includes around 18 webinars, and there are 2 assessments. It will run from October 2025 until June 2026, with the results being released in August next year. So we will skip on to the next slide if I can click on the right screen. Right, so who's it for? So whilst this list isn't exhaustive, these are some of the suggested roles we have involved on there. So any role that involves governance or compliance responsibilities. So whilst that may or may not be in the name, we know that this can vary. Obviously, if it is in the name, then it's definitely for you. And if you have responsibilities around that, then it probably is also for you too, if you would like to do it. Company secretary, obviously, assistant company secretary, sports administrators with governance responsibilities, anyone that's a non-exec director, and also sport development officer would also be another example of a job title. So all of the details for this course, and by all I literally mean all, can be found on our website. We've tried to make as much documentation as possible so that can answer any of your questions. So if you do want to find out anything to do with the bullet points below, we have that and more on the website. I'm just going to bring the website up quickly. So I'm on the home page. So if you want to find out about the certificate, all you need to do is go to learning and then certificate in sports governance. And we have these quick links at the top, including the application support section, which you may be interested in. And yeah, if we go down here, we've got all the details here, the practical students guide, which is new for this year, which we'll touch on in a second, along with the manager's guide, coming down timetables, how to apply, information on each of the 4 modules, application process, and all the application criteria. You might want to call it a mark scheme. We call it the application criteria, but if that makes it easy to understand, that is fine. So yeah, if we just come back to the main screen here, to apply, we have an online form which will open on Tuesday, the 19th of August, which is a week today at 9 AM. And again, if you would prefer to do it in another form, we can also offer machine transcribed video calls, which we'll then double check to be edited, which we then send back to you to check that you're okay with it. And then we could, and then we would submit that. And also, if you want to do it by another method to suit your needs, please do get in touch and we're happy to accommodate, but please make sure this is before the deadline. So in terms of timelines, these are rough timelines to start with. There are published dates, but for the sake of this, I've just put the months involved. So the first module runs from the 20th of week commencing 20th of October until December. and it consists of mostly and yeah, all the modules consist of webinars with a bit of self-study. The webinars will take place during the working day, assuming you work between the hours of 9 till 5. Module 2 goes into more sports governance specific topics. And yeah, modules 2, 3, and 4 are in January, February, and March. The written assignment window will open either around late March or early April and will run until May. With the multiple choice exam and the revision to go around it running from May until June. It's not confirmed this year whether the multiple choice will be over a window like it has been in previous years. So, for example, this year there was a 10-day window in which you could take, or 12-day window even, I think, that you could take the exam. And it may or may not be like that. It may be on a set specific date, but that is not confirmed yet. So what we've done is, so being a level this level 4 course, it's a recommended 200 hours of study, and that's, you know, officially broken down 50 for each module, which can be a bit confusing because what does that mean, and how is that going to pan out? So this, and because that includes the assessment as well. So what we've done is we've recommended some chunks in which you could do it. So we recommend you spend 35 hours on each module, just learning the topics. So that includes the webinars and the desk study. And we break this down evenly because each one is assessed evenly through the assignment and through the multiple choice. So whilst there is more content in module 1 and there are more webinars, we wouldn't recommend spending more time on that, for example, because it will be assessed the same as the other ones. And the other 3 are also more sports specific. So coming down into March and May, we do recommend that on top of your out of hours study time, that you try and get 1 or 2 days of study leave from your employer to complete the assignment. And there's also 1 hour in there to cover the assignment webinar as well. And then finally, between May and June, we recommend taking out about 3 hours and for the of your working day to do the multiple choice exam. This includes the webinar to prepare you for it, the preparation for the multiple choice exam. So this includes a dry run of what the exam conditions will be like, and also getting your room ready. I know many people were surprised by how long it took them to do all the checks around their room to do it. And yeah, we recommend you do some more revision for that. So application timelines. I've already mentioned that we're going to open on the Tuesday the 19th. This will stay open just until the 11th of September at 11:59. So 12th September it will be shut. And then successful applicants will be notified on the 2nd of October. We hope to notify unsuccessful applicants very soon after. But this will just depend on if people decide to not take it up, if circumstances have changed, for example. So whilst we will try and tell unsuccessful applicants by the 2nd of October, we will definitely have told them by the 9th, as that is the deadline for acceptance of places. And then, yeah, as I mentioned before, the course begins on the 20th. What's changed since last year? So if anyone applied last year and was unsuccessful or had some tabs on it, we've got 2 things. So one is your practical applicant and managers guides. So you can really delve into the commitment required, what happens if you fail an exam, or what happens, you know, what you're going to learn on the course. And this is designed, the practical applicant's guide is designed to be a bit longer to provide you with the information you need, and the manager's guide is designed to be more or less just a little bit more than a 1-pager on our website, so you can just send that to your manager if you're trying to work out how they can best support you. And the big news is that we've got more places available. So last year we offered 18 places on the full certificate and then places on the individual modules. We found that the places on the individual modules weren't so popular, and the places on the full certificate were. So therefore we've just gone straight up and offered 30 places on the full certificate. So if you want to do the full certificate, this is your best chance ever of getting on through the bursary. So in terms of application support, we do have a lot of it. We have some tips and tricks and some guidance on AI. I would recommend you reading these on the website, which can be found through the quick links on the certificate page. And we also have, along with the AI guidance, which we highly recommend you read if you're planning on using AI as in part of your application, we also have an AI policy, which you have to accept as part of reading it, as part of applying. So we please do ask you to read it. And just as a general note, as I've written here, AI can't write your application for you on its own. They're great for generating ideas, finding out more information, but they don't have your experience, and often they're quite easy to spot, to be honest, when someone's just gone ChatGPT, answer me this. Yeah, we do find them quite quickly, and yeah, they're normally okay, but they're never normally good enough. So please do read that if you're thinking of using AI. So apologies, I left the wrong slide name in. So we will go into the questions with Tara, and if you have any questions, it'd be great if you could save them for the end. I'm just going to have a look at the Q&A chat to see if there is anything in there. So I'm going to start a discussion in there going, hi everyone. Please post your questions here. And so please post them as we're going on with the Q&A. Sorry, as we're doing the little informal chat. So you don't forget them by the end, and then we can go back to them once we're done. So Tara, welcome back. So just to get us started, how did you find like balancing the time commitment of doing the webinars and the assignment and the multiple choice exam with your work?
And I'm quite structured by nature, and I think, let's be honest, most people that work in governance probably do love a good process and system anyway. But in terms of the learning, I actually blocked out specific times throughout the week so that, one, I would make sure I actually did the work. If it's in my calendar, it will be happening. But also meant that it kept me on track without burning out or without being overwhelmed by work, extracurricular life, study, and all that. So I think on average, I spent anywhere from 2 hours a week if I felt really on top of something, or if work was taking the priority that week, to 8 to 10 hours per week on the kind of the outside study, obviously outside of the webinars and bits and pieces, depending on, like you say, reading length, coursework, upcoming assignments. Sometimes I'd block out an entire weekend and just go into full study mode, or use travel time, trains, planes, and automobiles for reading. So I think that's more how I structured the outside and balanced the desk study, I think you called it. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then the seminars themselves, I actually put forward a business case for my work because they do take place during work hours, so that they obviously could see the benefit not only for me professionally, but for my organization. How is me taking this course going to be useful for them? Why should they be okay with me taking a couple of hours out once a week to take the course? As I'd really recommend that if not. And I'm super excited by the manager guide you were talking about. And I think that if that's the kind of same lines that I'm thinking, definitely in the seminars were engaging, practical. I really enjoyed attending live where I could, as much as I could. But obviously, depending on the time, sometimes we've got meetings, or actually some of them fell during the Paralympic Games, and working for the IPC, that, can't lie, has to take priority there. So it was really useful to have that option to watch recordings back afterwards. But I definitely really enjoyed being part of the webinars, engaging in those exercises. And it was also kind of a break from the work day sometimes as well. Slight refresher. Even actually, I'd be in a webinar and all of us, we'd be talking about something, we'd be in an exercise, and I think, oh, that would be really useful for this meeting I've got coming up in a couple of hours or a couple of days, and be able to already put into practice what we've just spoken about, or challenges that others had faced, and bring that directly in the same week, which was really exciting. So I think some of those best takeaways definitely came from hearing how other organizations handled governance challenges, successes, failures of that. And I think you mentioned the assignments as well.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a bit of a nerd and get really excited about assignments. So they were actually quite enjoyable. Particularly, we had one around report writing, and that challenge. Honestly, the challenge for me was actually whittling it down to, I think, 3,500 words or something like that, and trying to condense it in. And the multiple choice questions are actually quite a nice change, because as an adult, once you leave school, you don't really get exams in the same way. And I know you mentioned that you're still about how those are structured, whether it's a single one event or across a few days, is still TBC. But I think that completion window for me was really beneficial, particularly as when we were taking the course, it was that window was near Christmas. And so for us, there was a lot of traveling back for me to the UK at the time, and it kept it focused but manageable at the same time.
Yeah, no, cheers, Tara. And just to confirm, yeah, sorry, I didn't mention it earlier, that all the webinars are recorded. And I know there's a question in the chat, and there isn't an attendance mark. There used to be. When Tara did it, there was one. However, now there isn't. So whilst in theory you could watch every single webinar on demand, wouldn't recommend it, as I can see there's a comment in there as well, which we will answer at the end. But yeah, it is better to be there live, obviously, if you can. And that's part of why the manager's guide exists. It's to help them understand what the commitment is, as we know that sometimes life and work and other things can get in the way. So if you were to put yourself in the position of the people coming on this call today, so when you know had maybe read what the certificate was on our website, but obviously reading something and then finding out the reality is always a little bit different. So how did you hope it would benefit you before you took the course, and has that panned out, or has it panned out slightly differently, or has something completely differently cropped up, but in a good or unsuspecting way?
Probably somewhere among all of that. I think my biggest driver for applying for the course was actually around confidence, because my background was quite varied coming into governance compliance, everything from events, ticketing, disability participation, but everything had been, I guess, up until that point, kind of drip fed with governance and policy and things like that. And then when I took my master's, I researched all around the linguistics of policy and sport policy and thought, I really like this thing. But always had a little bit of imposter syndrome, especially in my day-to-day job, of people coming to me for, oh, how should we go about this? Or what advice do you have? And I felt like I knew the answers, but lacked the confidence to actually be able to deliver them in a way that I felt was sufficient. And so the course, I think, met exactly those expectations that I was looking for. It solidified the knowledge that I either had already, built upon that, and taught me many new things as well, and gave me the language and the tools to back up the advice that people were asking me for. So I think that expectation was spot on, which was great. And in both work with the IPC and also where I work on, say, on the board for TUPE UK, we're quite small governance teams in both respects. And so I really wanted to make sure that my knowledge could actively support both paid role, board work, and whatnot. And so I think that, again, that being able to clearly articulate to either individuals that don't have backgrounds in governance or do and have been working for a while, to be able to have those conversations at both levels was really beneficial, and something that I hoped would come from the course, but you never know until you take something. And I think maybe an unexpected benefit was the peer network, I think, that comes with the course and with the SGA as a whole, to be fair. Like I say, hearing about others' challenges, solutions, ways of working gave me fresh ideas that I could take, say, straight into my own work, board meetings at the end, outside of work, and even months later, I'm continuing to be. I'm booked on to come to the conference in November in person, and I'm buzzing for it, to actually see everybody that you've just worked with online for the best part of a year, and poured over a few hours worth of emails of, do you understand this, and do you feel the same way? Have you experienced this before? To actually now meet in person. I think some of those seminar discussions and some of the exercises and elements that we got to know with other people really directly influence now how I approach governance issues across the board, and have already implemented, like I say, some of those examples or ideas, and that was quite a nice unexpected benefit. I think anyone that knows me will agree that I'm not very good at keeping up with emails and messages. And you smile, Sam, because I think you experienced that whilst trying to get an answer out of me for a date for this.
No comment.
So, yeah, otherwise. So that was a really, like I say, an unexpected but really pleasant benefit to have that network of people and support. Also through the learning platform itself, it gave me a specific area and zone in which to find the other humans, which is great.
Yeah, no, wicked. I was going to ask you how it's fitted within your wider professional development, but you've just answered that perfectly in terms of the network. And it's probably not far enough down the line yet that we can fully understand how it may or may not have benefited you in terms of that. But in terms of gaining the network, it's a really, like with many of the SGA courses, you get to meet them for a few days, and that's great. But with this one, because you're with the same people, well, it's once a week or every other week for these webinars, it's a great way to make connections. And yeah, you can through the learning management system, which you're incessantly here as the LMS, you can talk to the trainers as well as the other people on the course to discuss different things. But yeah, no, that's fantastic. And also just a quick plug for our conference in Leeds on the 13th of November. It is free. So we'll be at Headingley Stadium, and that is in 3 months and a day. So if you'd like to come along, please do join us. So final question from me before we get onto the Q&A, because I can see there's a few flooding in. So if you're, let's say you've got it sounds like you put your business case across pretty strongly. What do you reckon the benefits to your organization more widely have been?
I take
or
it from
even amongst your own team? Sorry.
No, good. I think if I take it first from a Cheatable UK perspective, which I touched on a little bit earlier, I think, but it means now our governance processes have definitely been strengthened, continue to be, and will be ones that I keep ticking off the to-do list. But it means that I've also been able to break down more complex regulatory requirements or concepts to, like I say, board members or our management team, that with much clearer and digestible explanations for people that aren't constantly involved in governance. And therefore we're able to now use those skills. At the moment we're doing a bit of a recruitment drive for some different positions, and that governance now sits at the heart of the growth of Cheatable UK and making sure we've got really strong foundations. And it doesn't just sit with me, for example, or whoever would be in my position, because we've been able to disseminate that information across in various ways. And I think for the IPC, like I say, we're also quite a small team, and having come from a background that doesn't directly relate to governance, I think if you looked at my CV, then you wouldn't really think that how have we got to where I am now, has just added that confidence and added that ability to take a project and run with it a bit more, and so in a good way, a little bit more free reign, but still, like I say, we come back and we talk about everything and exchange all the brain thoughts on it and whatnot. I think those are probably the biggest benefits, to be able to share the knowledge, the workload with a bit more confidence.
Wicked. Cheers, Tara. So we'll now move on to the Q&A section. I'm just going to start. I'll try and smash through some of the more practical ones. So about the minimum attendance, we did touch on that, but yeah, there isn't a minimum attendance anymore, so you don't need to worry about that. Obviously, you do still need to send in your assignment and do the MCQs. If that counts as attendance, then you do have to attend those. But in terms of the webinars, yeah, you could theoretically not do them, but we really recommend that you don't, because you'll miss out on loads of the benefits. So if I switch over to the Q&A tab, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So sorry if I've mispronounced that. For someone like me who works in a different sector from sport but actually involved in cycling and follow UK football desire to take this course, will I be able to apply for the bursary? So yeah, if you're actively involved in cycling, that if you have a role within a club or within a larger organisation, let's say you maybe sit on a committee or you have some volunteering responsibilities, yes, you are eligible to apply for that. Let me just come up a little bit to the next one. So I work full-time in the NHS, but work on a voluntary basis for an NGB. Presume eligible given there was talk of manager, etc. report to the board rather than a specific person. Moreover, as someone who's studying maths online, how is the actual course delivered? Yeah, so they are webinars, like seminars, effectively. Yeah, online. They will be. And in terms of manager, that's just whoever you need to work with during the day to sort of understand where it's going to fit within your day. So these seminars are delivered during normal working hours. So normally, I think they either take place at 10 or 11, or some take place at 10:30, I think, as well. So it will normally be in the morning, I think, is what's penciled in. So yeah, if you can come along to the live seminars, that's great. And then last question, once completed, is there a further qualification that can be undertaken? So following on from this one, we don't offer bursary places on it, but you can then speak to the Chartered Governance Institute about becoming fully qualified. So to go on their, either full qualifying program, or look at other Chartered Governance Institute courses that would get you different levels of membership with them, but unfortunately we are unable to fund that at the moment. So yeah, if you would like to go and do further study in governance, the option is there with the Chartered Governance Institute. However, the Sports Governance Academy bursary does end at the level 4 certificate. So we've got one for you, Tara. So what was the biggest challenge you found when applying for the course? We'll start with that one, and then we'll do the second one afterwards.
Okay. When applying, I think even though I kind of enjoyed writing it, but actually making that business case was a challenge, because obviously, like I say, the webinars during work hours, had to show how the course is going to benefit the organization as well as my own development. So I thought, okay, how can we do this? I spent quite a while sat there one evening trying to work out the best way forwards, because I'll finish that point in a second, but for me, the financial side was actually quite a challenge. Initially, I'd been looking at this course for a while and kept putting it off because I was like, I don't really have the budget to spend on that right now. And so the bursary for me was an absolute lifesaver and actually made the course possible at all. And so when applying, I really, really wanted it. And so I thought, okay, how can we link this to my annual professional development plan? How can I highlight the governance improvements it would unlock for us as a team, for me as an individual, being able to contribute to not only the organization, but see from a business perspective, the wider Paralympic movement. I think once I'd framed that as a win-win, it then all kind of fell into place. But that took me a little while, I think, to actually bring that together and bring all those points into something that was concise as well.
But just to add to that as well, it may not always be that difficult for people. It may be that you just ask your manager and they say yes. We know that's the case for quite a few people. So depending on where you work, we do recommend you have a conversation with whoever you work with about it, just to check that it fits within what you're doing. Because what we don't want is, while there are options to defer a year, which can be found in the practical guide, we do prefer people to finish it within a year, because well, if you don't finish it, that's someone else who could have taken the place. There are limited bursary places, so we do appreciate it if you are able to do it in the year. And then the follow-up question to that was, what was the biggest challenge you had whilst studying the course? And I'm aware of the time, so if anyone's able to hang on, that'd be great. But yeah, I think, yeah, so what was the biggest challenge you had when studying?
I think it might sound like a bit of a cliche answer, but it was time management, particularly during busy work periods. Like I say, we had the Paralympic Games at different points. We're a small team, so therefore our workload is quite high anyway. So it made it quite tempting to put things off. But therefore you kind of know that, oh, if I don't do it now, it just means that pile is getting bigger in the background anyway. And so that's where it came in, having set really clear boundaries and dedicated study slots with snacks, obviously. Meant that every now and then I did have to play catch up a few times, but having that structure in place meant that I never fell too far behind, or not far enough that I couldn't catch up. Otherwise, finance isn't my strongest area. So I think the work around, or the knowledge, information around finance took me a little bit longer to digest. So I think also setting aside the time for the areas that you know you are weaker in would be very beneficial.
Yeah, we do get that with a few people who go, the introduction to sports governance module, for example, often people coming through the SGA do find that a bit more straightforward because a lot of them do already have those responsibilities. So you might find that module relatively easy. And then some of the heavier stuff, for example, in module 1 about governance more generally, maybe a bit more difficult. So that's I really like that as a tip. So the next question is, post-course, is there a network to join or maintain contacts with peers? Yes, there is. We have an alumni group on the Huddle, our social forum, which can be found on the website. So if you go to the website and go to community, let me just check I've read the right title on the subtitle. Yeah, community, and then the Huddle. We have our own group on there, and then it's a private group for people who did the certificate themselves. Obviously, you can connect with each other on LinkedIn and whatnot as well. But yes, there is. And also, obviously, come along to in-person events. People that have done so far, from our experience, we've only run it twice, the bursary, but people that have done the certificate do seem to turn up a lot to our events. So it's a great way to stay in touch. And then the next question is mentioned, if unsuccessful with a bursary, you can buy into the certificate. What is the cost and what is the process? So we would recommend applying first, because if you're unsuccessful, you've maybe lost, I don't know, 15 minutes to a bit longer if you spend ages on your application, of your time on the application. But we'd recommend waiting until afterwards. And you can just buy it straight from the Chartered Governance Institute's website. I think off the top of my head, it costs about £1,400. It might be at 1,500. But yeah, you can find that if you just search certificate in sports governance CGI on Google. Let me just check it comes up. Yeah, there we go. It's the first non-sponsored thing on Google, and you get £1,475. That's how much it costs to do if you pay directly. And the process, just in terms of logging in, and they may have a quick call with you just to check it's the right thing that you're looking for, but that you don't have to be of a certain, you don't need any previous qualifications, for example. So that looks like that's all the questions in the Q&A. So if anyone's got any more, please hang on the line and pop them in. But if not, first of all, thank you very much, Tara, for coming along and helping with this. This is a new format we're experimenting with, and I think that, really appreciate your help in setting this up, and also your contribution to do this as well. Thank you everyone for coming along. I know it's 7 o'clock on a nice sunny evening, and there are places that you might rather be. So cheers and best of luck with your applications if you decide to go forward with them, and we hope to stay in touch. Just from an SGA point of view, what we've got upcoming, we've got obviously the conference in November, and also all of our training has just gone live, so you can book those through the website. So if there's anyone else that's got any questions, it doesn't look like it, I will end the webinar in a sec. Anything else from you, Tara?
No, not especially. Just thank you for having me. And if anybody's equally got any questions outside of this, feel free to drop me a line anywhere. And otherwise, thanks for having me.
Fab. All right. Yeah. Likewise, if you've got any practical questions, please send them our way. So I am going to end the webinar, so you may just get an automated message in a second, but thank you for coming along.